The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, it's definitely, it's a game that, yeah, it did that existing thing. The Last of Us Part 2, without a doubt, is one of, if not the most popular video game of the year. And it has caused quite a bit of controversy this year. The first game is highly beloved by a lot of people and is one of the highest rated games of all time. And one of the highest rated games, especially on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. So, here comes The Last of Us Part 2, the sequel to a highly loved game, and it's one of the highest anticipated games of the generation, and quite possibly the most popular game of this console generation, the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Wii U. And it has been very polarizing for a lot of people. There have been both raving reviews saying how great the game is, and people saying it raped their mom and killed their dog, which is, you know, a little bit of an exaggeration, but still. And I'm here to say what my opinion is. And in my opinion, this game is so fucking good. Yeah, I know, a lot of people hate it, and I can understand why, but I personally loved it. Before you say that I don't know what I'm talking about and I haven't played the first one, I have. And I have played Left Behind. I know what the fucking first one's about. I know what Left Behind's about. I have played them. I have a PlayStation 4 and I have a copy of The Last of Us Remastered. I have played it, and I loved it. But I loved The Last of Us Part 2 more. Now, once upon a time, in a time called just a couple of weeks ago, Super Mario 64 was my favorite game of all time. Now, in a time called today, this is my favorite game of all time. The story and the characters are both fantastic. Both are insanely well done and are extremely great stories. But this game has two stories, and that's where a lot of the divide comes in. A lot of people did not like the second story of this game, with our second protagonist / antagonist, Abby. Now, at the beginning of the game, you know, you're going across like a normal fictional character does in their game, and you do all this shit that gets you all these points and stuff and ammos to go along on your day and complete your journey. As one of the two main characters of the last game, the other being still there, you know. But then, oh shit, that non-playable main character from the last game fucking dies at the hand of this character we played as for around 15 minutes, named Abby. Sets up this villain that is our entire goal as Ellie's side to kill. So you can bet your ass a lot of people are not going to like it when in the second half you have to play as this character. Now, I understand why people do not like this choice. Makes sense. Not everyone is going to like that. But I personally fucking loved it. I love to see our villain fleshed out, to see their motives and just their overall side of the story. Now, I will admit Abby's side is not quite as good as Ellie's, but oh my god, it is still a great fucking romp. And yeah, I think, well, Ellie is the better character, Abby is the better person. I think Abby overall is no doubt in the right in this game. Ellie and Joel both go on killing sprees whenever they fucking please. So it only makes sense that Joel's gonna face the consequences for that. And that is exactly why Abby kills him. But then Ellie goes and does the exact same thing, not realizing why she did this. And yeah, it's insanely well done, and an insanely well used hint towards the cycle of violence. The main point of the fucking game. But yeah, it's really well done, and Abby is overall, I think, really well fleshed out in the half of the game we get to play as her, and I think she is extremely overhated. I think she's a really good character in this game. Now, like I said, she's not as good of a character as Ellie. She's still really well done. And the way we get to see her develop the same sort of connection Joel and Ellie had with this kid named Lev is great. And yeah, it's really well done. To see them get to connect is just, it's fantastic. It's extremely well done. It's well handled. But then there's so much junk, like Owen's character arc, all of her friends, and all this is just really well handled. Some of it even fucking hurts, bro. Like, when we hear the names of the dogs we killed or the people we killed, yeah, it stung a bit. Like hearing Bear's name after playing Ellie's half, and at one point I hear someone scream out Bear after I kill a fucking dog. It's like, holy shit, that kinda... Oh, I remember that. Oh shit, that got me good. So yeah, I think it's really well done, and we get to see these characters, we get to know more about Owen and Mel and Manny. It's really well done. I think it's great. I think it's a really nice contrast to Ellie's story, which, at the end of the day, even if Abby's story takes up nearly half the game, this is Ellie's story. This is Ellie's story of revenge, and how she has been led to this cycle of violence by Joel and his rage into violence, and we get to see her being taken down by him. And it's great that even beyond the grave, he's still affecting us. And Ellie's half is just amazingly done, in my opinion. With Ellie, we get to, after Joel's death, we get to adventure around Seattle. And Seattle is so fucking fun. We get to do a bunch of crazy shit with the zombies and with the human CPU. It's really fucking good, to say the least. And at times it's insane how little ammo and shit you have when you're going off against these guys. But within this, you get the story, and my god, I just could not get this game out of my head while I was playing as Ellie. Her relationship with Dina, her path of revenge, her numerous killing sprees, the scars, the wolves, all of it is just really well done. And Ellie is just a phenomenal character. Like, yes, I said she is a bad person, but a bad person doesn't mean a bad character. Even though she does a lot of extremely wrong actions, she is a really good character. The way her character is driven and the way her character is written are both really good, in my opinion. The way we get to see how she grows and how she develops and how she expands is, in my opinion, probably the best character development I've seen. And it's just great. Her relationship with Dina is fleshed out extremely well. It is done amazingly, in my opinion. Even though, yes, we don't get to know Dina too much, I still love the way we flesh out her arc and her relationship with Dina and the conflicts they have throughout this. It's just great. And Jesse's just so fun. He's such a fun character. Like, my god. He doesn't do much, but he's really fun. He's really fun to interact with. But yeah, Ellie's story about revenge, and in the end, her starting to break out of the cycle of violence is really well done, in my opinion. And it sucks because we see throughout all of this her push through all these people, kill all these people who didn't need to die. And at the end, for her to finally break out of it, for revenge have to have consumed her, to consume all of her relationships, and her rage, and everything she knew has all been taken away by this unvanquished rage and revenge that has been caused upon by this person who she resented herself. And that's another one of the most interesting things, is her relationship with Joel in this story. Because at the end of the last game, we're left with an interesting note, to be honest. After Joel tells her a lie about what they do, about how they left, and we don't know whether she believes him or she doesn't. It leaves it pretty open. But in this game, we find out about how that affects their relationship and about how eventually it breaks it. Because eventually Ellie finds out, and it leads to their relationship being busted. And it is extremely sad to see, because, you know, we grew so close to these characters and their relationship in the first game, just to see it turn to dust. And that's why it takes more to think about when you realize she's doing all this to avenge him, but at the same time she resented him herself. And that's because she still loved him whether or not he was a good person, whether or not she liked him, she cared about him. Now, even if she hated what he did. And I think it's really well done. I think it's really sad and it's really depressing, but it's extremely well thought out. It's insanely well done, and the scene where she finds out about how he lied to her is emotional. It's heartbreaking. It's heart-wrenching. It's extremely well done. Insanely well done. Yeah, I think that's one of the main things this game hinges on too, is Ellie and Joel's relationship from before his death, how it affects the entirety of what Ellie does throughout this story. It's insanely well done, I think. Now, before we go and stuff, of course, I've got to talk about gameplay. And the gameplay is interesting, to say the least. There are some little wonky controls, like reloading with the same button you press to shoot is extremely weird, you know. But it makes sense because they're so cram-packed in here. But yeah, the addition of prone was, you know, probably my favorite thing in this entire game, of the gameplay-wise. Because prone just adds such a new depth to it, with the short grass. And yeah. And overall, I think the combat flows extremely well. I think it's well done, and it rarely feels too heavy, but it doesn't feel too light either. And then the way we have the limited resources and stuff helps, you know, shaking the gameplay up a little bit and season it and all that, and I think it's well done too. And the different types of zombies definitely help season the gameplay, with the runners being, you know, head first with rage, but being pretty easy to kill, all things considered. And then the clickers with stronger attacks and head first still, but they can't see, they can just hear. But yeah, they're done really well too. I hate them. That was one of the worst things about playing with headphones, just the clicking. It's insane. But yeah, and then the bloaters with, they bring another thing into it, because you gotta make sure you have the right materials to defeat them, because, you know, you can go through 2 magazines of bullets on them, and they won't fucking die. You gotta make sure you have fire shit. And then the Shamblers, an alternate edition of the Bloaters, are just as bad, if not worse, in my opinion. I hate the Shamblers just as much. And then, my least favorite of the entire set of them, which is just Stage 2, the Stalkers. I hate the Stalkers, my god, I fucking hate those bitches. They are so painful to go through, in my opinion, because I like doing stealth, and they don't really allow you to do stealth, because they're too busy using stealth themselves. They're such a hard enemy to kill, because they'll run away so quickly, and it shakes up the gameplay a lot. It shakes up how you're going to do things, because if you're in a room of clickers and they get onto you and then you shoot them, there's going to be, the clickers are going to start running your way, and then the other stalkers are going to start running your way if the clickers are already going over there, and then bam, you've got a horde on you, and it's extremely hard to deal with, and it makes it extremely hard to do anything. But yeah, it's a really nice way to shake up gameplay in the end still, and I mean, I liked them less in The Last of Us Part 1 than 2, but still I thought they were a really interesting villain here that I love to hate. But yeah, overall the gameplay is well done. I think there's a little bit of iffy controls here and there, but overall I think it's really well done. And I think it's great to see Ellie's separate combat flow compared to like Joel's and Abby's. Because Joel and Abby overall flow pretty similar in combat, but Ellie does go quite a bit different because she's, not built with a bunch of muscle, and she's smaller, so she's easier to get through places and sneak around. So yeah, and you can get killed pretty fucking quick as Ellie, where it's harder to kill Abby and Joel. Yeah, I thought the gameplay was really well done, especially on Abby's side. That's not Abby's side, on Ellie's side. That's not to say I didn't like Abby's gameplay. I just thought Ellie's was better. But yeah, overall, like I said, I love the game. I think it's great. I think it's really well done. I'm definitely on the love it side of this game. Like I said, it's my new favorite game of all time. I think it's extraordinary. I think it's extremely well handled. The emotion and all of it's just really well handled, and my god, the visuals are fucking great. They're probably the best I've seen in any game, and from the Spider-Man Miles Morales PS5 content we've seen, I think it looks better than that, even though Miles Morales is on the next generation. That's how good I think it looks. But yeah, I just think this is an all-around amazing game. I think it's a great narrative. I think it's a well-thought-out narrative, and I think it's overall really well-rounded and a great experience. It's something you need to experience to truly form your own opinion on, rather than just listen to what other people say. If you hate it, I understand. I know where you're coming from, but I personally, I adore it. I think it's a great game. If you don't, I respect that. It's a really fucking good game to me.
Because I know I'll kill my enemies when they come. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life.